Hello, everybody, and thank you so much for joining us today for a very interesting two-part series. I have the pleasure today of sitting down and talking with a very good friend of mine, DeonHall-Garriques, who happens to be better known as the menopause coach. So stay tuned. Today is part one. We're going to be talking about menopause and natural ways of dealing with that. Tomorrow, we'll join back again and we're going to be talking about natural ways of relieving pain. So let me start out by telling you more about this wonderful person. So Deon is a certified holistic menopause coach and an essential oils expert. She's also the founder and owner of Deon's Wellness Wagon, DWW. It's a private wellness and nutrition coaching practice. She's the creator of the 5-step hormone rebalance program. Deon has been practicing since 2014 and supports women who are struggling with perimenopause and menopause symptoms, insomnia, hot flashes, night sweats, brain fog, and mood swings so they can lose weight naturally, control their cravings, gain more energy, get better sleep, balance their hormones, and feel like themselves again. Phew! She takes a holistic approach while considering each individual's unique needs. She has been dubbed the Menopause Mama because of her success in helping menopausal women alleviate their frustrating symptoms and reclaim their bodies so they feel like themselves again. Deon is a speaker and conducts wellness workshops for corporations, conferences, retreats, community organizations, and women's groups. Deon graduated from the Institute of Integrated Nutrition, where she obtained a certification as a holistic health coach. Deon, it's such a pleasure to sit here and chat with you today. Welcome.
Thank you. I am so happy to be here, and thanks for doing this. It's
Yes,
great.
absolutely. We're going to have
Excited.
so much fun. I know.
Yes.
We already know a little bit about ourselves, but we get to share a little bit more with our listeners today. So I know you call yourself the menopause coach. You must see a lot of postmenopausal women.
Yeah, so here's the thing. Let me just explain this for everyone because I get this question all the time. You're a menopause coach. I'm not there yet. I am not in menopause yet. So I have to clarify all the time. Even though I'm a menopause coach, it doesn't mean that I'm limited to menopausal women. Okay, so what that means is I do see women who are in that pre-menopause stage or otherwise perimenopause, and that's typically between the age of 35 and 40. And in this stage, women go through some of the same symptoms, which we'll talk about a little bit later on. But then I also have the other women who are from the 40 to 51, right? That's another group, but they're still in that pre-perimenopause because they haven't gotten to menopause yet. And not until a woman gets to about the age of 51, 52, it may vary from woman to woman, that they actually hit that menopause, like that stop button. It's the end. And a woman is considered to be in menopause if she has not had a period for 12 consecutive months. So really, my sweet spot for the clients that I see in my private coaching practice is between 40 and 50. Like right there are where I see most of the women and most of the struggle that really happens. So menopause doesn't really mean the end of that fertility or the end of your period. It's that phase leading up to, if that helps.
Absolutely. That makes perfect sense to me because, you know, most of us women know that there's no black and white about this. It is all gray. It's a full gray area that we have to just somehow get through every single day. So I'm so glad to be talking about this. I have to ask,
Yes.
what made you decide to pursue solutions to menopause?
So before I get to that question, just want to piggyback off something you said about
Yeah.
how gray this whole hormonal imbalance and menopause is. It's so gray because each woman could have a totally different experience from the next woman. You're all going through this phase, but the experiences are very different based on your personal person. I see women who never had a hot flash ever.
Yeah.
But they have ton of weight gain and they have a lot of moodiness and all of that. And then on the other end of the spectrum, I see women who suffer from hot flashes day and night and never gain an ounce of weight as a result of this phase. So it's so different. And that's why I have a holistic practice, because I tailor my style to each woman. It's not a one size fits all, because it'll never work.
Thank goodness for that.
Yes, no, that's very.
Yeah, it makes so much sense, because not only that, even for each individual, I know, just talking about me, it just depended on, it was dependent on the day and what my activities were, what I had eaten, what I hadn't, all of that had played a factor.
All of that.
Yeah.
We're very complex machine.
Oh,
Put it
we
that way.
are.
Right?
Yeah, that's so true.
So to answer your question,
yeah,
how I got started on this menopause journey, to call myself a menopause coach. So when I first started on this whole wellness journey, it was years ago, but when I first became a formal coach, I was about wellness. I just wanted to help women to be well, to get well, and to, consider their health as a priority, and do things to make themselves well, as well as their families. And so I was seeing a lot of women with weight loss issues, right? So that was where my main focus was, until a few years ago. I started to experience a lot of perimenopause and menopausal symptoms. So I went through a perimenopause stage all the way in my 30s, all the way up through my 40s. And honestly, I really didn't know what was happening in my body all of those years. I was seeing a breast specialist every 6 months because I had developed a fibrocystic breast. I was doing sonograms twice a year. I was going for my mammogram once, sometimes twice a year, to monitor. I had my GYN visits, that was twice a year as well, to monitor. And then I also had my internal doctor, and all of them collectively would just tell me, listen, this is part of the aging process. You're gonna go through these things. You just gotta burn through it, because it's part of being a woman and it's part of the aging process. But you know what? Fast forward, I took that kind of that philosophy for many years, and as I got older, and I'm like, no, it can't be. There's no such thing as you gotta burn it out and you gotta deal with it and you gotta suffer.
Right.
And as I delved into a lot of research, as my symptoms became worse, I'm like, there's gotta be a better way. It just can't be, I can't suffer like this. And I started doing a lot of research. I started attending a lot of conferences. I even ended up taking courses just to learn about hormones and what was happening and how could I help myself. Now, all of this time, I was still seeing women for weight loss and wellness while I'm having these personal struggles and trying to get answers. But it took about 2 years, maybe a little bit more, to figure this all out. After all of that, I figured out that I was suffering from hormonal imbalances. And there was a lot going on in my body, and no one ever mentioned the word hormones to me. None of my practitioners, no one. And so when I understood, that what this hormonal imbalance meant, and that I had all these hormones going on in my body, and one hormone can affect the other if there's an imbalance, and stress had something to do with it, I'm like, oh my God. And so by all of this learning and research, I developed a protocol that I started to use, and we'll talk a little bit about that, I think, later on. And I'll share with you what I use now for the women that I coach. And this protocol actually helped me to heal my body. It helped my cysts went down, reduced.
Wow.
I started feeling so much better. I got my energy back. I just started feeling like myself again. When you read my bio, I said that, you said that a couple of times. me helping women feel like themselves again, because that's what I felt like when I was struggling, like I wasn't myself. I felt like was having some out of body experience.
Yes.
And once I started adopting the protocols that I had discovered and put these things together, I started to feel like I'm coming back into my body, So then I said, okay, all right, after everything that I've learned, I'm going to develop something systematic that I can use in my practice, even though I may have to tweak it based on the woman. And then I can offer it. And that's what when I came up with the 5-step hormone rebalance program. And that's what I've been using and tweaking. And then I found out that it was really working. It was where I felt most comfortable when I was working with women. And here I am. I'm now a menopause mama.
Well, oh my gosh, you're giving everybody out there hope, right? Because again, I've certainly had those experiences of who am I today? Why am I feeling this way? Why do I feel so, such upheaval in my brain? So thank goodness for you going through your struggles and providing all the rest of us with hope. So, there's so many different symptoms as we go through that line of perimenopause to menopause. Can you share some of the most common symptoms so people can get an idea?
Yep. So, and you read some of them as part of my bio because I like to bring them out, because sometimes when you talk about perimenopause and menopause, sometimes people don't really connect it, because you connect something when you're feeling something, when you can relate to something. Like perimenopause doesn't mean anything to some people, or menopause. They know kind of what it is, but when you start talking about specifics like symptoms, then they're like, oh, I have that, and you get their attention, right?
Yes.
So when it comes to that perimenopausal stage and that menopausal stage, the symptoms are very similar. Okay. So the top symptoms that I see, and that most research and scientists have come up with, are unexplained weight gain, or just weight gain in general, especially around the midsection.
I am just laughing because yes.
We all have been there, right? Yes. We all, that's like the problematic. We lose weight everywhere else once we start, but for some reason we just have all of this excess that just sits around there. And a lot of that has to do with estrogen. So I don't want to get into that too much now, but that is hormonal. For the most part, that's hormonal. Another one, a big one, energy. A lot of women lose energy and they feel fatigue very often. They can barely get out of bed. A lot of women are drinking coffee from the time they get up till the time they go to bed just to stay up, because their energy is so low. Their cravings. Some women have that really bad, and that doesn't help the weight gain, right?
Right.
You have cravings.
I really want a donut.
Yeah, I really am feeling like a donut right now. And they go for it. And then you look down and you're like, oh my God, it's not
why
going
did I just
anywhere.
do that?
Insomnia is another thing. A lot of perimenopause, menopausal women have trouble sleeping. And hot flashes, we talked a little bit about that. Night sweats as well. Moodiness is a big one. I know I suffered from moodiness, and my kids are always like, who are we seeing today?
Right. Yes.
The mood swings can be horrible, some people get depressed, a little bit depressed. And also, we have these intimate issues as well, where some women have low libido and dryness, which does impact, your whole relationship and all of that. So all those symptoms are horrible if you have to get up and deal with them every day. Absolutely.
Yes. Yeah. So along with those symptoms, what are the solutions that you offer?
So my solutions are based on my 5-step rebalance program, right? So yes, we have these hormonal issues, but you're a doctor, at the root of when it comes to wellness, the foundation of wellness is really your diet. What are you eating? What does it look like? Right? So we
Yes,
can't even, I can't
absolutely.
even start to work and expect any kind of healing or changes until we get that right. So
Yeah.
one of the first things I recommend to the women that I coach in my private coaching practice is just make sure you have you have a balanced nutrition. And what does that look like, right? So
Yeah.
processed foods, fast foods out the window, excess sugar out the window, excess alcohol out the window. We
Yeah.
want to be having whole foods, and whole foods meaning foods that were not made in a lab or
Huh?
a factory
Oh,
or
yeah.
right, like
And put
those
into a
kind of
can.
whole foods or put into a can, right?
Yeah.
Although I will say, without getting off course too much, there are some canned foods that are okay if you have like canned organic beans that are in PBA free containers. It's acceptable once in a while because they are convenient, right? We're not trying to
Right.
make anybody's life that miserable. But for the most part, I'm talking about the packaged foods like the freezer dinners or
Yeah.
TV dinners, as they call them. Like that's not always the healthiest. They have a high salt content, and the ingredients, my God, I don't know what they are. And one of the
We
basic
don't
premise of
recognize them.
we
Yeah.
don't recognize them is I always recommend to my women, whatever you're buying, try to become a label detective. If you have a paragraph long for the ingredients, you might want to put that back on the shelf. Simple ingredients that you can recognize and you could read, because then there's not a lot of chemicals that's in this particular food. I like
Yeah.
to emphasize healthy fats. Healthy fats. Don't be afraid of fats as long as they're not trans fat and are in fast food. Healthy fats like avocados, nuts, seeds, salmon, healthy organic meat, protein, if that's your choice. Legumes are awesome as well. So just want to emphasize a good balanced diet. And you know what? If we do that for most of the time, we never have to watch what we eat that much if we're eating whole foods and eating that on a consistent basis. The other thing I recommend for hormonal imbalance that helps with these menopause and perimenopausal symptoms, supplementation. So, Dr. Misty, you probably hear this all the time when women say, or people say in general, I eat very well. I really don't need supplements.
Yes. Hear it all
I
the
just
time.
eat
Yeah.
all the time, right?
Yeah.
And what I say to that, I say a couple of things, right? I say, we live in a Western culture. That's the first thing. We live very busy lives, right? We all don't sit down to 3 meals a day that's well balanced and perfect. Even
That's
for
right.
myself, that I consider myself relatively healthy, but I don't get all the nutrients from all my meals. I just don't.
I don't either,
And the other
unfortunately.
Exactly. And the other thing is our soil is being depleted. So even if you eat the best organic foods, with the soil being depleted, we're not getting those nutrients that we think in adequate amounts, at least, that we think we're getting. So supplementation doesn't mean replacing your meals, because you do get some kind of nourishment, vitamins, minerals, but it's supplementing for you to have sufficient. So I
I like that.
recommend, yeah, the next question might be, so what are some of the top supplements that you recommend? I recommend an omega fatty acid. That's really important. It building your immune system and just helping to keep you strong. A good quality multivitamin, can't go wrong with that. Vitamin D is also important. C is important, and D. So there are more, but those are like my top recommendations that I want to make sure that each woman is taking their supplement along with having balanced diet. The next thing is movement, right? Our bodies were not designed to be still. We just weren't designed that way. We have to move. And as we age, we have to incorporate more exercise to kind of help our organs um, function better, help our bones become stronger. And as a chiropractor, you know the importance of keeping healthy bones, right? And exercise is
Absolutely.
just one of those ways that you have to do that. And
Yes.
then one of my favorite other things, which is probably part of this talk, is using essential oils as a way to support your hormones, to support menopausal symptoms, to support perimenopausal symptoms, and just to support your entire wellness in general.
That sounds wonderful. The first few things that you mentioned, nutrition, supplementation, movement, all of those seem to be things that people have heard of before. But once you start mentioning essential oils, people lean in a little bit more, right? They say,
Yeah.
this is new. This is fascinating. So what would you say are the top 5 essential oils that you would recommend? And can you share with us how to use these oils?
Oh, sure. So as I mentioned or a little bit earlier in my story, essential oils was an essential, no pun intended, an essential part of my healing, my personal getting my body back in to feeling like myself. And that's when I discovered the power of these oils. And so I've incorporated them into my practice, also based on my personal experience. But what I've seen, some of the top oils for hormonal balance include clary sage.
Uh-huh.
And clary sage is used for balancing estrogen levels. Now, estrogen, I'll just say this real quickly. There are three key hormones that I see that usually go out of balance, and then they
Okay.
cause all kinds of problems. They're estrogen, thyroid hormones, and cortisol. Now, cortisol is responsible, that's our stress hormone, right?
Uh-huh. Yes,
That's
absolutely.
usually the trigger for a lot of our hormonal imbalances. And our thyroid, of course, regulates our metabolism.
Yes.
And estrogen controls the weight a lot. So if we can get oils that can help us to regulate and balance those, that's where we start experiencing we start seeing some differences and really start feeling better. So clary sage is one of my number one picks. And again, it helps to balance our estrogen levels. And that's because it contains natural phytoestrogen, which is estrogen like.
Okay.
Okay, so that's my number one. And you can use clary sage by, I think we have a little bit, just have to get out of that, sorry. We can use clary sage by diffusing it, we can use it topically, and we can use it internally. Now, let me just stop right there 1 second because somebody's going to be saying, essential oils, you can't use that internally. And I will just add one disclosure. That is true for most parts. Most essential oils, it's not recommended that you take them internally. But the oils that I have used for many years, going on 8 years, and the oils that I recommend to my clients is doTERRA essential oils. And that is because they can be taken internally for the most part. Most of these oils can be used internally. And so as I go through my top 5 oils, you'll hear me say internal use. And that's because these oils are safe for internal use. They're
Wonderful.
100% natural. And so that's the reason why, not to mention, these oils go through a grading process where they are considered certified pure therapeutic grade, tested by a third party. And so I feel comfortable taking them internally, and I also feel comfortable recommending that they can be taken internally. So I
That's
just wanted
probably
to
a
say that.
very, yes, and I would like to kind of reiterate that. In other words, people should not be taking down the list that you're going to provide us with and going to any department store or any pharmacy per se, and then picking up oils off the shelves and thinking, well, I was told to take these internally.
Right.
Okay.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you so much for saying that. But that is absolutely right. You have to know what oils you're using, and high quality oils are the best. You may pay a little bit more, but believe me, it's so worth it because you know you're getting a quality product.
Absolutely.
All right, and my number 2 is sandalwood, and sandalwood was one of those that I used a lot. I love sandalwood. Sandalwood is great for increasing libido. It's great for
Right.
reducing stress. Stress, a big part of our hormonal imbalance. And it just promotes a feeling of relaxation and also boosts mental clarity because we get these mood swings, sometimes. So clarity, sandalwood is one of those that you can use for multiple different um, symptoms. And so once I started saying multiple different, I want you to understand that essential oils or one type of essential oils can be multifaceted, meaning you can use it for different things, not just one thing, even though certain oils are better for certain things. But like sandalwood, I just said about 4 things that sandalwood is good for. So awesome. And
Yeah.
sandalwood, again, you can diffuse that. If you in a diffuser, you can use it topically by applying it on different areas of the body, whether it's your stomach, whether it's the bottom of your feet. Great for pulse points. And also you can use it internally by dropping it in your smoothie or in water.
Oh, nice.
So that's number 2. Number 3, I would say thyme. I think I missed one. I think I missed geranium, didn't I? Because that is one of my other favorite ones. I can always come back to that. But
Sure.
I think I missed geranium. Sandalwood is, I did sandalwood. So thyme improves progesterone production, and it helps to relieve different menopausal symptoms as well: depression, mood swings, fibroids. Women develop fibroids. It helps to support that. Hair loss and insomnia. That also is great for helping with insomnia. And then geranium that I missed is also another calm, smooth, soothing oil that can be used for menopausal symptoms as well. So that's
That's
my
wonderful.
top 5.
You've given us your top picks of it. I love sandalwood, and I tend to use it as my daily perfume oftentimes. And sometimes I wonder if we are drawn to certain essential oils based on what our bodies might need.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Dr. Misty,
yeah,
I don't know how I could forget lavender. Lavender is one of my favorite oils. And what I notice is that lavender is one of those oils that everyone knows, right? Like if you
yes,
say, have you ever used essential oils? When I talk to people, oh yeah, I have a bottle of lavender. It's
yes,
like the only oil that people who aren't really familiar with essential oils know.
that's
Lavender.
right.
Everyone
Yes,
knows lavender. and
yes.
and and lavender is great, right? Lavender is great for insomnia, good for feeling calm and all of that stuff. So I wanted to just throw lavender in there because I know many people have that at hand at home, and you could actually start using that to relieve some of your symptoms.
Great. Thank you for that. So what about, so we've talked now about a few different essential oils. Can you put it together in perhaps a daily ritual that you might want to, that you have, that you wouldn't mind sharing with all of us?
Sure. So my daily ritual doesn't necessarily consist of all of these oils, even though
Uh-huh.
it does sometimes, because honestly, it depends on what I'm feeling on a particular day.
Yeah.
Um, if I'm feeling stressed, I might use my lavender. There are other oils that I also use for feeling stressed. So I'm just gonna give you like one of my typical days that I tend to fall back on very, very often. So I usually start my day with diffusing wild orange and peppermint. And the reason is because I am not a morning person. I don't get started. I have to get up. I mean, if I'm up at 7, that's great. But I try to get up because I need to work out. But I feel like I always need like a kick in the butt to get me going. And so I find that peppermint and wild orange are very uplifting.
Yes.
And they just give me a shot of like adrenaline, right? And I diffuse that for a little bit while I'm brushing my teeth and doing all of that stuff. And by the time I'm done, I'm ready for my exercise, because then I'm starting to wake up and I'm starting to feel a little bit better. So I'll diffuse that the first thing in the morning, in the mornings. And then after I brush my teeth, I always use a drop of frankincense, either under my tongue or at the roof of my mouth. And what that does for me, that helps to build for cellular support. I mean, I find it to be so uplifting for me. And so that's part of my regular for cellular support. And then when I get in the shower, lavender, I'll sprinkle some lavender on my rag or whatever I'm using. And that just helps me again to kind of just calm and get ready for my day. My midday ritual, it depends. It depends what kind of day I'm having. I have maybe 3-4 oils at my desk. I have Forgive. I love that oil. If I'm feeling stressed, a lot of times I have meetings from 9 till 5 back to back, and it gets a little hectic sometimes. So I always have an oil at hand to kind of just help me breathe and just help me calm down. Lavender is one of those oils too. There's another favorite I have called Adaptive. That's yes, that's a really pretty oil. So I tend to use that. And what I do is I dab it on my wrists, and then I just inhale it, or I just put a drop in my hand, rub it, cup it over my nose, and just inhale. And that just really just calms me, sets my mood, helps my focus, and that really, really helps. And I have to mention, there are times when I do get a burst of hot flash, if in a meeting sometimes, and I have a spritz bottle of peppermint with water that I'll have, and I'll just spritz. Sometimes if I'm on camera, I'll turn off the camera, spritz really quickly, and dab and get back on. So because the peppermint really helps to make you feel good. And then finally, my nighttime ritual, love serenity and lavender again for nighttime. I diffuse, or I'll use it topically again on my pulse points, or sprinkle a little bit on my pillow, either serenity or lavender. And that just kind of helps me calm down, ready for my bedtime, feeling good. I'm ready to go to bed. And that usually gives me a really, really great night's sleep. So that's like a little snippet of my day.
Oh my goodness. It just sounded as if I felt that I was living through a spa day with you. So I hope that that's how our listeners are going to feel as well. That was just beautiful. And, as I will share with you tomorrow, we're using some of the common oils too. So that it's cool to hear.
Yeah.
So where can our listeners find more information, and also how would they go about purchasing these products that we've talked about today?
Sure. So if you are interested in purchasing any of these products that I mentioned, or just learning about essential oils in general, you can go to my website, DeonHall.com. There is a tab that's marked essential oils, and you can go in and do your purchase. If not, feel free to reach out to me at deonswellnesswagon@gmail.com. And all of this will be in the notes. Once at the end of this show, you will see all of that information posted there, so you can feel free to look at that. And also you can follow me on social media at Deon's Wellness Wagon on Instagram, Deon's Wellness Wagon on Facebook, and that's it.
Thank you again, and thank you everybody out there for joining us today, and we hope that you'll tune in tomorrow for part 2. Thank you so much, Deon. It's been such a great pleasure.
Can't wait. Yes, thank you so much, Dr. Misty. I appreciate it.
Absolutely.